In the secret archives of the Vatican, there is a document that lists hybrid creatures that officially shouldn't exist. Beings that combine human and animal characteristics, which have been cited throughout history and that some researchers believe are still alive today. These creatures are not the product of natural evolution or human imagination. According to forbidden ancient texts, they are the result of genetic experiments carried out by beings from another world thousands of years ago. The Book of Enoch, a text censored for centuries by religious authorities, reveals the terrifying truth about these demonic hybrids. They were created by 200 fallen angels who decided to contaminate human and animal genetics forever. And the most disturbing thing is that these abominations did not disappear with the Great Flood. Some survived, adapted, and continue to lurk in the shadows of our modern world. Stay with me, because I'm going to reveal to you the most obscene genetic experiments ever conducted, the hybrid creatures that terrorized ancient humanity. Why did the Egyptian gods have animal heads? And the evidence that these abominations are still alive among us. And don't even think about missing the ending, because you'll find out why all modern demonic representations have features of these ancient hybrids. I'm El DoQmentalista, and this is the demonic hybrids from the Book of Enoch. To the light from mystery and intrigue, touching on taboo subjects. And I discovered in the midst of stubbornness that parallel worlds exist, and through my mistakes, I learned humility. Making a pact with the sky, and I am El DoQmentalista. First of all, two things. First, I must thank my source and great friend, Father Ingaro, who told me about the connection between mythical creatures and records of ancient genetic experiments. Second, help me grow the channel by leaving a like, commenting, and turning on notifications. Alright, the Book of Enoch reveals something that religious authorities have tried to hide for millennia. The giant Nephilim were not the only hybrids created by fallen angels. There was something much worse. According to the text, the 200 Watchers didn't just contaminate human genetics. They experimented with animals to create monstrous creatures that combined the worst of different species. The book specifically describes how these corrupt angels chose animals on which to perform unnatural acts, presumably including humans. 200 donkeys, 200 rams, 200 goats, beasts of every animal, of every bird. This is not talking about simple hybrids. It's talking about deliberate genetic manipulation, using what the text calls union between incompatible species. Hybridization technology that we shouldn't possess. The result of this demonic corruption was violence, perversion, and a progeny of monstrous beings. The text is clear. They begot giants and monsters. Two distinct categories of abominations. The giants were human angelic hybrids, but the monsters were something completely different. Unnatural combinations of human, animal, and possibly angelic DNA. These hybrid creatures have been documented by civilizations all over the world, but official history has classified them as mythology. But what if they're not just myths, but actual historical records? In Greek mythology, we find centaurs, half man, half horse. According to legend, they were born from the union of Ixion, a human, and Nephili, a spiritual being. Does that sound familiar to you? It's exactly the same pattern as in the Book of Enoch, a human and a spiritual being. Creating hybrids, Ixion was seduced by Nephili, and from this relationship, the centaurs were born. The original sirens were not Disney mermaids. In Greek mythology, they were half woman, half bird, creatures with female torsos and the wings of a bird who lured sailors to their deaths. And let's remember that Enoch's book specifically mentions that the fallen angels took 200 of each bird for their genetic experiments. Human-bird hybrids are not fantasy, they are documented abominations, but the place where we find the most evidence of these hybrids is in ancient Egypt. Analyze the hieroglyphs. Practically all Egyptian gods are hybrids between humans and animals. Why did Thoth, the god of wisdom, have the head of an ibis and the body of a human? Horus had the head of a falcon, Anubis had the head of a jackal, and Sobek had the head of a crocodile. And the list goes on and on. Impossible coincidence. Mayans, Aztecs, Egyptians, and so on. They weren't worshipping imaginary gods. They were worshipping the hybrids created by the fallen angels who survived the flood. These hybrids, having inherited angelic knowledge, presented themselves as gods to primitive civilizations. Their supernatural wisdom made them indistinguishable from divine beings to normal humans. The fallen angels had been expelled from heaven for wanting to be worshipped as gods. On earth, together with their hybrid offspring, they finally achieved their goal: to be worshipped by humanity. But here comes the most disturbing part. These creatures did not disappear completely. The Bible says in Genesis 6:4 that the hybrids existed before the flood and also after. This means that some survived the global flood, and if they survived thousands of years ago, what stops them from still existing today? Let me know in the comments if you've heard about sightings of strange creatures, because the modern evidence of these hybrids is chilling. The creatures we call cryptids, beings that are believed to exist but haven't been scientifically proven, could be direct descendants of these ancient hybrids. The Mothman from West Virginia is one of the most well-documented cases. Since 1966, hundreds of witnesses have reported a 3-meter-tall humanoid being with giant wings and glowing red eyes. The description matches perfectly with the human-bird hybrids mentioned in the Book of Enoch, a being that combines human features with moth or bat wings. Coincidence? I don't think so. Especially when we consider that practically all cryptids reported worldwide have one thing in common. They are hybrids between humans and animals. Bigfoot is human. Chupacabras is a human reptile. Lizard men are human amphibian. The pattern is consistent. Werewolves, vampires, etc. Unnatural combinations that shouldn't exist according to evolution. These creatures appear on every continent, in every culture, with similar characteristics. They are not collective hallucinations. They are survivors of antediluvian genetic experiments. One purpose of the Great Flood was not to punish humanity. It was to eradicate these genetic abominations that were contaminating all of creation. God did not want to destroy humans. He wanted to cleanse the earth of the genetic corruption introduced by the fallen angels. But some hybrids managed to survive. These beings are called abominations in the sacred texts because they represent a violation of the natural laws established by the Creator. And here comes something that's going to terrify you. When these hybrids died in the flood, their spirits became what we now know as demons. Have you ever noticed that depictions of demons always show human-animal hybrids? Baphomet has the head of a goat and a human body. Classic demons have horns, hooves, tails, but they speak like humans. It's not symbolism, they're exact representations of what the original hybrids looked like before they died. Their demonic spirits keep the appearance of their corrupted bodies. Most of the demonic entities depicted in grimoires and occult texts are hybrids between bulls and humans, reflecting the original experiments of the fallen angels. This explains why satanic rituals traditionally involve the sacrifice of specific animals. Are they invoking the spirits of the hybrids that once combined those species? The fallen angels not only created physical abominations, they established spiritual patterns of corruption that continue to manifest in our world. Every cryptid sighting, every encounter with demonic entities, every paranormal phenomenon involving hybrids is evidence that the experiments from the Book of Enoch still have consequences. The 200 Watchers were imprisoned in Tartarus, but their genetic and spiritual legacy remains active on Earth, manifesting through their hybrid descendants. The scientific authorities deny the existence of these creatures, because accepting their reality would mean acknowledging that ancient genetic manipulation surpassed our current technology. It would also mean admitting that there are malevolent spiritual forces that have been contaminating Earth's genetics for millennia with specific purposes. The original goal of the fallen angels was not just to create hybrids for fun. It was to permanently contaminate divine creation, making it impossible for humanity to fulfill its original purpose. Each hybrid created was an act of direct rebellion against the order established by God, a way to sabotage creation from within. And considering that these experiments continue to manifest in modern forms, from cryptid sightings to paranormal phenomena, their mission is still not over. So the next time you hear about the sighting of a strange creature, don't dismiss it as imagination. It could be evidence of genetic experiments that began before the Great Flood. The abominations from the Book of Enoch are not ancient history. They are a present threat that continues to lurk on the edges of human reality. The hybrids created by fallen angels represent a corruption so deep that its effects extend beyond death, beyond time, infiltrating every aspect of existence. Let me know in the comments what you think about the connection between mythical creatures and ancient genetic experiments. Do you think these abominations are still alive? The evidence is overwhelming. From ancient texts to modern sightings, from demonic depictions to contemporary cryptids, everything points to the same terrifying conclusion. The genetic experiments of the fallen angels were not an isolated historical event. They were the beginning of a permanent contamination that continues to affect our world. When all the cultures of the world speak of the same hybrid creatures, maybe they aren't myths, but ancestral memories of real horrors. I am El DoQmentalista. And this was Creatures from the Book of Know That Still Exist, Strange Faces.